Hi, everybody. So, sorry, I've got to get my laptop to the correct screen. This is our overview of the rhetorical analysis essay. I apologize if you've got some background noise. There's some yard work happening outside of my house. So, hopefully, you don't get, too much of that in the background. We'll try. So the first essay that we are going to be writing for class is a rhetorical analysis essay. And this is your student packet for that essay. For each essay that we write, I have a whole packet put together for you. So you have everything you need in one place. And I'll also be going over each one of those individually. So this is that first one. So here we go. Page 1, we've got some fun memes to ease the pain of writing an essay, because writing essays is not fun for lots of us, and I realize that, but we'll get through it. So you've got some fun stuff there to look at. Then you have the essay 1 prompt, which is like the directions, and we'll go over that in detail. Then the essay 1 rubric, and this is what I use to grade the essays. So that way you know sort of what you're aiming for. And a sample essay. And so you can see a sample student essay and have an idea of what this looks like when it's finished. So behold a couple of fun rhetorical analysis memes that I was able to find. And on to the essay 1 prompt. Okay, so for this first part of class, we've been learning about rhetoric, which is, as hopefully you remember, language, and specifically how we use language to persuade. So remember that when an author or a speaker uses language, they always have a purpose, and that purpose can be anything from getting you to buy something to getting you to support an idea, or even just feel a specific way about a topic or an issue. We see rhetoric all over the place, and this assignment asks you to choose a song, speech, or poem and discuss how the author or speaker uses rhetoric in that piece. You'll also be responsible for discussing the rhetorical situation surrounding the song, speech, or poem, and that's your first essay. So here's what we're going to be doing. First, you need to choose a song, speech, or poem to analyze, and this is important. You do need to clear that song or speech with me before you begin your essay. You can send me a message on Remind, you can send me an email, and I will reply to let you know that that is fine. I'm pretty open with whichever song, speech, or poem you would like to use, with these exceptions right here. So you may not use any of these songs or speeches, and it's just because I have read about all of those too many times, or we have used them in class for examples. If you're getting stuck in terms of choosing one, you can always look to your group, talk to a tutor, or ask me for help, and I'm happy to help you with that. So once you've chosen your song or speech or poem, and you've cleared it with me, then you need to start researching. So you're going to need to summarize the rhetorical situation. Remember that you're doing this in one paragraph, and you do need to have an outside source as evidence. You do not have to have a scholarly source. I know it says scholarly here, but I'm going ahead and letting you guys use just any background source that you can find is fine for this essay. For later essays, you will have to find a scholarly source on your own, but for this one, any popular source is fine. Make sure that your source helps your readers understand something about what was going on in the world at the time when your particular song or speech or poem was written. And remember, this is just one paragraph in your essay. After that, you need to look at what you think the text is saying about a certain issue and how effective you find that text, rhetorically speaking. So remember that we're looking specifically at rhetoric and how the author uses rhetoric. Each of your paragraphs should be focused on one type of rhetoric or one example of rhetoric, and you're going to use those paragraphs to help us understand how the author makes such an effective claim. Or make such a persuasive, song or speech or poem. So remember that in your paragraphs, you're going to be doing things like talking about the author uses pathos to make us feel sad so that we will do this or believe this, okay? So remember to look over the other lecture that we had, which was about rhetoric. You also have one that was about rhetoric, specifically about the Vanessa Bryant speech, and that should help you with some examples of how to find those rhetorical features and how to talk about those and explain why they're important. But this is really the bulk of your essay. So you've got one paragraph where you're telling me the rhetorical situation, and the rest should be all about specific places where the author uses rhetorical features in the song, speech, or poem. And you should be explaining to me how they work and why they're so important. Okay. As I read your essays, I'll look at these different things here to grade. So we want to make sure you have a clear controlling idea that's thoroughly developed throughout. Make sure that you are providing a detailed analysis of the rhetorical situation in that rhetorical situation paragraph. And then make sure that your paragraphs are well developed, meaning they have topic sentences, evidence, and an explanation of that evidence. The paragraphs should work together to help us understand why this song, speech, or poem is so effective. And then we want to make sure that we avoid grammar errors and that kind of stuff. So do your best on that count as well. Page length requirement, we're looking at 5 to 6 pages in length, 12-point font, 1-inch margins. Remember that your page length does not include your works cited page. So we need 5 to 6 pages of writing plus a works cited page. Again, make sure that you're working in your groups, talk to a tutor, and or talk to me for help with the essay if you get stuck. Important parts of the essay, due dates are available on the schedule of classes, but you'll be turning in some or all of these different things. The biggest thing that you're definitely turning in is your first draft and then your final draft. Remember that your first draft is worth 25 points. I give you written feedback on that draft, and then you have some time to revise before you turn in the final draft, and that's where I actually grade for content. On the first draft, you just sort of get an A for effort, so make sure you turn something in. So here's the rubric. This is what I use when I'm grading. And you can see that each section here has a certain number of points that are possible, and you'll get a grade with how many points you've earned in that particular section. So the basic requirement section has the page length, MLA format, and your thesis. If all of those things are going well, then you get up to 10 points there. Next, we have your discussion of the rhetorical situation. This is that one paragraph where you're telling me about the rhetorical situation and you're using your outside source, and there are 15 points possible there. The next category is where you're discussing rhetorical features, and remember this is a big section of the essay because it should be all of your paragraphs except for your intro and that rhetorical situation paragraph. So it's worth a lot of points. You have 40 points available for that section there. Then we have your use of quotations. Make sure that you're using that quote sandwich method where you're introducing the quote, you have the quoted, information from whichever source you're using, and then you're citing it in MLA format and explaining it. 25 points are possible there. And then the last section has to do with grammar, punctuation, sentence structure. All of that stuff is worth 10 points. So all of this adds up to 100 points. You'll get a grade for each of those little sections, and you can see how you did that way. And then also included in your student packet for this essay is your sample student essay. This is a great example of a really well-written rhetorical analysis essay from a previous class. And you can read it over to get an idea of what this assignment looks like when it's finished. So this is an actual student essay. Of course, I made it anonymous so you don't know who this person is. But this is a really good example of things going well. So I definitely recommend giving that a read so that you have something to sort of aim for as you start writing. Okay, so that is our first essay packet. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Talk with your groups, talk with a tutor, and get the help that you need for the essay if you get stuck.